This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Inter-Miami football. There she is, the legend that is Michelle Kaufman. Does an excellent job for the Miami Herald covering Inter-Miami. Michelle, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Good. How are you?
I am excellent. I can't complain except when somebody tries to tell me how to run my show, which is not something that you should ever do on this. That's it. That's one of the biggest no-nos on this show, to tell me, oh, don't talk about this or don't talk about that. That part I don't accept and go with. But anyway, yes.
By the way, I'm getting a little echo. Should I put headsets on? Oh, no, now it's gone. I think we're good. Okay, go ahead.
All right, good. All right. Last night, you know, I'm starting to wonder that the shoe fell off of Cinderella's foot and all that, because we had such a nice run, a run that I never even expected, to be honest with you. Okay, they completely fooled me on that run that they went on, but now they've lost 3 in a row. Offense is really struggling. Last night they had some opportunities, and it's just kind of frustrating. What are you seeing right now that's missing compared to the run that they were on?
Well, you know, when you look back at the run, there were a few games where they scored three goals, 2 goals. But if you really go back and look, first of all, it was against some of the weaker teams, to be honest. And also, even toward the end of that run, they still were not scoring. But, you know, they were all saying that it's fine if they weren't scoring, because as long as they're getting clean sheets, it doesn't matter if you just win 1-0, 1 goal is enough if you have a clean sheet, and 0-0 would be a tie. So during that run, it's not like there was one little week where they scored goals, where Pizarro and Robbie Robinson both were, scoring and everything looked good. But before that, they struggled to score. After that, they have struggled to score. So you have to really believe that the truth lies more, I think I was talking to, maybe it was Jim Curtin of Philadelphia, the coach, and he was saying that, at the end of 34, you can't go by runs. In this league, teams go on runs. They have a good run. They have a bad run. At the end of the day, after 34 games, everything seems to even out, and the best teams rise, and the middle teams are in the middle, and the bottom teams are in the bottom. So I think in this case, everyone, including me, had very high hopes during that. It was an 11 games with just 1 loss in 11 games, which is a really great streak. It is a great streak. But even during that period, they did struggle to score in many of the games, particularly the last 3 or 4 of those games. And they were winning either 1-0 or tying 0-0. And, that the luck was going to run out at some point. If you don't score, you're not going to win. You just can't win if you don't score goals. And, last night, by the way, they had 0 shots on target. 0.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Also, just if
it wasn't like they weren't around the target. Okay.
They were around the target. Blaze had a chance. Robbie Robinson had a very good chance.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the whole season, if you really look at the sum total of the whole season, one of the key stats that I think is very telling is that this team is the lowest scoring team in the entire league, not just in the Eastern Conference. Out of 27 teams, they are ranked 27th in scoring with 25 goals. So it's very difficult to say you're going to be one of the top 7 teams or one of the top 5, top 7 teams if you are the league's lowest scoring team. You would have to just get clean sheets like every single game. That's not going to happen. So they definitely, defensively, they showed again last night. Atlanta is a team that had scored 10 goals over 4 games. They were playing at home. They had 42,000 people, and Miami did hold them scoreless from the field of play. For 94 minutes, they did not score a goal from the field of play, a team that had scored 10 goals over 4 games, and they were playing at home and everything else. So the defense, especially with LGP back in there and with Nico Figales coming back this Sunday, they're going to have their full squad. Gregory, Nico, LGP, everybody will be there. I think defensively, they're a good team. They got, 4 clean sheets in a row. Last night was essentially a clean sheet without the PK. So they've proven that they can hold teams from scoring, but they really are struggling on the other end. And, Gonzalo Higuain, you see him, he's dropping further back. He I guess he felt he wasn't getting the service in the box. So now he's moved back and retreated, and they put Robbie sort of in front of him a little bit last night, but it really didn't seem to work. I think what I would say about Robbie is that Robbie is an incredible talent as far as his speed, his size. He has ball skills. He can take on defenders better than most. But he lacks the vision near the goal. And Gonzalo said it a few weeks ago. He said he still has to learn to see the field and to look up. He needs to look up because sometimes he is in a great position to shoot, but other times there's someone else in a better position and he doesn't see them. And then he'll take a shot and it just won't be the best shot. So I think he has a lot of good qualities, and he's young and he has a lot to learn. But they're not connecting. Gonzalo and Rodolfo Pizarro are not connecting up front the way they need to.
And listen, you and I have had the fortunes of covering local soccer here for a long time, and we've been able to be around professional soccer players, including the first go round with the Fusion back in the day. Obviously, we were really young in the days of the Strikers, and I as a kid, I remember being in the stands. But as a reporter and as a person that's worked with teams, and all the way from when I was in San Jose, when I was working in San Francisco, and I saw Wijnaldum in his earlier days there, and then we saw him later on in the Fusion towards the back end. But whether it's Lassiter, whether it's Cerna,
Preki.
Preki. When we're talking about scorers, they bring an attitude. They have this confidence. There's this cockiness that comes with it. There's a little bit of diva in the sense of I want the ball, not the diva of I'm complaining and whining. No. I want the ball. I want to be the guy that puts my team on top. We see it with Ronaldo and Messi and all that. We could talk about the big guys, but I can talk about my personal experiences of being around just like you, because you and I have been around the same kind of people for a long time, and we've watched those kind of people. I don't know if Robbie, maybe it's because he's so young, or maybe he should already have that kind of an attitude. But if you're going to play that position, I want you to bring that fire that comes with that position, and usually the guy that plays that position, or woman, by the way, plays that position is in desperation of the ball and wants that opportunity.
Well, I think Higuain has that. You see that he wants the ball, and if you're not going to give it to him, he's like, well, if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to drop back and I'm going to get the ball myself.
Right.
He wants the ball. He wants the ball, and he's very confident. Robbie definitely does not have that confidence level yet. He really doesn't. He's very talented. There's no question. And in college at Clemson, he was probably just so superior athletically.
Right.
I didn't watch him play at Clemson, but he led the nation in scoring. So he was the top scorer in the country at that position, at the 9 in the middle, center forward. On this team, to be honest, the best that he has played was on the left wing. I really feel that the times that they've used him with his back to the goal as a 9, he has not been as effective as because what he's good at least so far in professional soccer, is taking guys on, speed, getting to the ball, taking guys on, bringing it up the field. And then, once in a while he was getting shots and getting them in from the left side, but I think he's more effective. But what do I know? I am not the coach. These coaches, I will never, ever pretend to know more than Phil Neville and his whole staff, who all they do is sit around and watch these guys at practice and watch tape of them and study. And I don't do that. So I am absolutely sure their livelihoods depend on those players, and mine does not. So I would never pretend to know more. I assume that they know what they're doing and that there are reasons they put him in the position they put him in. From my position as just a sports writer who watches and has covered a lot of soccer, to me, it just looks like he was more effective on the left side than he is in the middle. I think what happened is Gonzalo, even Pizarro told us last week that one of his adjustments that he's had to make to work with Gonzalo is that he and Gonzalo end up occupying the same space on the field, and they basically trip over each other. You know what I mean? And so he said that Gonzalo does not like to stay in the box, that he likes to drift back, and he ends up drifting into the area where Pizarro liked to play as a 10. Last year, he was more of a 10. Lewis Morgan was on the right, and then whoever, random, collection of people on the left. This year, the idea was that Gonzalo was going to be in the box and stay in the box and everybody delivers to him. But he does a lot of freelancing, and it seems like he likes to drift back because he's not satisfied enough with the delivery he's getting. So he's like, F it, I'm going to go back there and get the ball myself and create something. I'm Gonzalo Higuain. I've played on some of the top teams in the world. Give me the damn ball. So, but when he does that, when he drifts back, the other guys then have to adjust. So I just think that there's
and by the way, he doesn't have the skill set to drift back that far, that when he does get the ball, he's not going to penetrate 3-4 guys to get to the goal and get his shot. I think ultimately what has hurt this team is that they don't have a dominant playmaking midfielder. That's really what's hurt them, because they need that guy.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm gonna ask Phil tomorrow. We have an interview with him tomorrow from Portland. I am gonna ask him why he doesn't play Federico Higuain anymore, because the few times he played earlier this season, he was a game changer. The guy has vision. I feel that what they're missing in the middle there is somebody with vision who sees the field in front of them and can thread the needle, pass, make the right pass to the right guy and put players in position to score. I feel like that is really what's missing. Pizarro has not really been able to do that effectively for whatever reason. Maybe it's just that he and Gonzalo they have trouble with, like, Gonzalo. I mean, Pizarro was saying, I have to figure out where to be because we always end up, the two of us, in the same space, and we're not supposed to be in the same space. There's something not clicking, right? Okay. They've got these guys with individual skills. I'm not saying they're bad players at all, but collectively, the chemistry on the field, there's something that's not clicking there between Robbie, Gonzalo, Rodolfo. It's not clicking right. And it's hurting them. I mean, even if they last night, like I said, a couple of years back, you and I covered a team for the Miami FC that beat a few, MLS teams in the US Open. That team would smoke this team now because they had a chemistry. They knew how to set each other up, and all. There was a balance on that team that I have not. These guys haven't even come close to having that kind of a balance. You know what I'm saying? And back in the day when we had the Fusion and they made their run to the Western Conference Finals, again, you had that balance, that you had a strong midfield to set up, your forwards. Because in a way, Lassiter is a lot like, and Serna is a lot like Higuain. They're guys that have to be up in the front, and you need to set it up for them so they finish the play. But they are not Serna and all those guys. They weren't, although Serna sometimes could be like a truck and he could power through a couple of guys. Oh, no, he was a bulldozer. He was a bulldozer.
Yeah, he had a little bulldozer. And Lassiter could not do that, and neither can Higuain at this point in time. But I think that's his frustration, that Higuain just doesn't have that guy that can really set them up. And I think that's what's hurt their entire offense this year.
Yeah. And I think, last year, I mean, they've asked Lewis Morgan, he'll do whatever they tell him. He's a great teammate, and he set the record last night. He reached 50 games for Inter Miami. He's the only player. He has played every single game for Inter Miami and started. He has started 50 games in a row for Inter Miami. He's the only player who's done so. Very valuable. He was the MVP last year, but they're asking him to play a more defensive role, which Phil talked about last night, that he's playing a role that he is very unfamiliar with still. He's doing it because that's what they've asked him to do. But his offensive skills, last year, in my vision of last year's team, even though it was basically they're going to finish around the same maybe as this year's team. They finished 10th last year. They may finish 10th this year, Yeah. But what I do remember about that
by
team,
the way, they even took out the set pieces from Morgan. It's Higuain actually kicking the ball from the corners now.
Yeah, although they go back and forth now between the two of them. But yeah, but Lewis Morgan last year, my image of last year's team, if there was anything that stood out, it was Lewis Morgan dribbling the ball up the right side, beating people and then crossing. Everyone talked about his crosses. He would cross in from the right side and, either Gonzalo or whoever was around there. But his role has changed, because of the personnel they had. They've moved people around, and just offensively, to me, that's the story of this team. They've shown that they can play defense. This goalie has, done a good job with starting the attack from the back, and they're keeping teams, other than the 9 goals over 2 games, which that was horrible. But they're still not scoring. And without scoring, they're not going to win games,
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. All right. What are you seeing Sunday in Portland? Because that's 4th best team in the conference. They've been pretty damn good for a while now. How difficult of a challenge is
that's going to be difficult. That's a team that 2 games ago they beat a team 6-1, and 6 different guys scored. They had 6 different guys scoring in a 6-1 game. Last night I think they won 2-1 last night. They can definitely score. Their atmosphere there is really good, as we know. Anyone who's seen that, the Portland Timbers fans are really, and it's a long trip. They are flying out today, so they're going to have plenty of time. They're flying from Atlanta straight out. They didn't come back to South Florida. Smart. So they flew from Atlanta straight to Portland. They'll get there later this evening, today, whatever. They're going to have all day tomorrow, all day Saturday to prepare for the game on Sunday. So, they're going to get, acclimated to the time difference. They haven't played on the West Coast since the opening game of this franchise, March of 2020, is the last time this team played on the West Coast. So it's going to be, a different atmosphere, different time zone against a team that can score in front of their home crowd. It's going to be it's going to be tough. They have 4 road games in a row. They had Atlanta, then they've got that one. They've got Columbus. They don't come back home till October 20th, although they played crappy at home. So maybe they'll do better on the road. Their 3 worst games of the season. Their 3 absolute debacle of games have all been at home. 5-0 to New England, 4-0 to New York, and 5-1 to Nashville. So their worst performances of the season have been at home. So maybe they're better off on the road. Maybe they bond better on the road. I don't know what it is. Maybe they'll do okay. I don't know. But they've got to figure out a way to score. That's for sure.
Well, there isn't a lot to do in Portland. It's only roses or rioting is what they do a lot of over there in Portland. They like to
I would put Vasilev. That's another one that I'm going to ask him about tomorrow. Vasilev, he came in during that 11-game stretch that everybody got excited about. One of the reasons was he came in and scored in back-to-back games. Yeah. And he is very fast. He has the speed that Robinson has. That Lewis Morgan has. Vasilev is very, very fast, and he seems to be kind of a fearless guy with some attitude, the attitude you're talking about. I'm going to ask him why he hasn't played him more also. I think he and Fede maybe are being wasted on the bench. But again, I'm not a coach, but I'm just going to ask that question and see what he says.
Follow her on Twitter at Kauf Sports. Catch her work there at the Miami Herald, and make sure you subscribe to the Herald and support Michelle and all the great writers that are there for the Miami Herald covering our community. Michelle, thank you as always. Enjoy the football over the weekend. Thank you. All right. We will definitely catch up down the line. Appreciate it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You got it. There you go. The great Michelle Kaufman. All right. We love Michelle. Always great insight from Michelle.